It was chaos and competition, arcade energy, over the top gameplay, and some of the most iconic cabinets of all time. And Acclaim brought the same energy home: wrestling, Turok, Shadow Man, gritty, weird, and unforgettable. These brands didn't just publish franchises, they published flavors. They made games feel wild, loud, and unfiltered. Fast forward to today, two new chapters with the same DNA. Midwest Games and the revived Acclaim are channeling that spirit into something new. Back then it was about breaking the mold, but today it's about redefining the field. New platforms, new tools, new ways to play. And if they have it their way, that same spark is coming back. Smarter, sharper, built for what's next. Ben and Alex are both the founders of Midwest Games and Play Acclaim. We are super excited to have you both here today. Ben, I'll give it to you first. Thanks for joining me. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Excited to chat. Love the retro reminder vibes. Uh, Gotta love it. Big piece of my childhood and just thinking about when built my company. A lot of it was built off of kind of some of the things I grew up with.
When you walked into the arcade, were you more of a Blitz and a NBA Jam, Mortal Kombat? What type of player were you?
I was definitely a Blitz player. I was a huge NFL fan. I come from a long line of actually football athletes. My great grandfather was the first American inducted in the CFL Hall of Fame, like the Canadian Football League, and is a Hall of Famer at EW Madison as well for football and basketball and track. So it's always about football. In fact, my first career choice was to go into sports management with the Packers. I went to UW Green Bay to try to get into that route. Didn't work out. Ended up in video games instead, which is much better, but still have a great love for the NFL. And Blitz was, obviously as a kid, incredible.
Safe to say you're a Packers part owner.
Yes, I am a Packers part owner.
There you go. Congrats. And Alex Joseph, CEO of Play Acclaim, thank you so much for jumping in today. You want to do a little intro of yourself and let us know as well. Are you a NFL Blitz, Jam, Mortal Kombat type of player?
Yeah, well, I'll just start with that. Definitely more Mortal Kombat, even Joust. Um, just like old school arcade. I remember I spent a lot of time. There was a place in my neighborhood. It was called Captain Videos, and I used to live there. Um, so that was really cool. Yeah. This is exciting. This is kind of like coming full circle. I've been in games for a really long time, and I've had the opportunity to work with a ton of great publishers, developers on the marketing side, on the publishing side. So this is a really exciting time. I'm very excited to be part of Acclaim and revitalizing and rebuilding this iconic brand. So this is and this should be a really good time having this conversation. So I'm excited about it.
Why Acclaim? Why did you decide to revive Acclaim?
So, okay, very good question, and it was not just my decision. I was involved in it. I had some folks come to me. I don't know, a little over a year ago, year and a half ago, and talking about, they were all industry people, heavily embedded in the industry, people I had known for a long time. Said, what do you think about, looking at some sort of like an iconic brand that we could sort of revitalize and then just do really cool stuff and sort of in line with that brand identity, but uh, for a new gaming audience. And I loved it. I thought it was just a really cool idea. And it wasn't necessarily going to be, it was Acclaim and there were one or two others. But we just kept coming back to Acclaim. I was like, I love Acclaim. I love Acclaim. And so we settled on that. And then, they're like, well, what if you were to spearhead this and kind of take the helm? I was like, oh gosh, I don't know. I'm kind of like enjoying my whole consulting thing, but this sounds like a really fun project, and this sounds really cool. So we went for it, and I was not prepared. I will admit, I was not prepared for what the response would be out of the gate. It was pretty insane. And right after that, I realized sort of that the brand influence and the um, and what we could really do with this. And a lot of things changed. A lot of the sort of the plan and the sort of strategy for the trajectory of the brand and for the company did shift a little bit, but I think we have some really cool stuff planned. It's not all about. Everybody's always like, well, what about what are you going to bring back? What old IP? And it's like, why? Nobody under 30 knows who Acclaim is, you know. So how about we just look at some, forward-looking stuff. We look at some really cool things that are in line with some of the old IP and some of the old greats, where you can say like, oh, this is kind of reminds me a little of this. This is like, there's some sort of connection, but it's for a new audience but it still resonates, I guess, with that nostalgic, gamer and the iconic Acclaim brand. So that's sort of the objective, and that's where we're going, and that's I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, I am too. Like I said, I feel like it's the rebirth of the era that we kind of grew up in gaming, and we're gonna hopefully start to see that energy with some of the smaller double A indie titles that are coming out. Before we jump too much into that, let's just talk about what games are you playing today, and maybe what's exciting you about the gaming industry as a player of video games. And Ben, you want to kick this one off?
Sure. What I'm playing today? Well, NCAA football just came out. It revitalized. Well, last year it revitalized after 11 years. So, been trying to bring my Badgers back, but then also, they have a great create a team mode, or create a university mode, and so I'm able to bring UW Green Bay in despite not having a football team. Thanks, Vince Lombardi, for that. If you don't know, Vince Lombardi prevented UW Green Bay from having a football team because they didn't want to compete with the Packers from a audience perspective. Not that they would. But that and RimWorld, which, if you've never played RimWorld, one of the, I think, most rated games on Steam in history. I think I forget how many hundreds of thousands of reviews they have on Steam. And so I play that one as a colony simulation strategy game. So if I don't resource manage enough during the day as a CEO, I have to do it in my gaming as well.
Nice. How about Alex? What are you playing these days, and what's exciting you?
I'm going to be totally honest. I'm playing I'm inundated with games that have been submitted to us. A combination of game submissions and then also games that we are in the process of publishing. So we've got some really cool stuff, which I'm very excited about. I wish I could talk about them right now, but
Go for it.
I'm a little bit I'm a little prohibited from doing that. But outside of that, I just haven't had a whole lot of time. I'll be actually, I have been playing a bit. Shout out to Mod Retro and the Chromatic. I've been playing Tetris on that. If you guys know that, the Mod Retro Chromatic, I got hooked on that, which I used to be hooked on that many years ago, probably 30 plus years ago, to the point where I'd be falling asleep and seeing Tetris bricks falling in my sleep. But that is just still as addictive as it once was, and that's a really cool device. So, but I've been pretty inundated with game submissions, and we have some really cool stuff. So that's pretty awesome.
How do you make time? I guess for both of you, right? I mean, you want to play these new hits that are coming out. You also want to check out these cool indies that are coming out. And to your point, you're probably getting hundreds, if not thousands, of submissions of games that want to be published by you, right? Like at some point, gaming must be a chore, not a hobby anymore, right? And how do you kind of click your brain from work mode play to casual
What are you
mode
doing?
play? You want to
That's
this
a
one out?
difficult one because, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head, like the whole chore and
What?
hobby. When it's your work, the question is it still a hobby or
Another
is it
what?
now your work? And how much of your work are you going to want to do in your off
No.
time? I still love to play. I think I'm a lot more selective in the games that I play and the games that I'm playing for just sort of leisure time. And I'm also coming across so much great stuff that, in terms of submissions, game submissions, and things that aren't out there yet, and things where there's a game demo and we're evaluating it, that I mean, there's one game that we're looking at right now, and I've already put in, just in over the weekend, like 3.5 hours on the demo, and I didn't expect that at all. It sort of caught me off guard. So, um, yeah, it's tough though to sort of separate the two and still keep leisure gaming enjoyable, and also be able to set aside time if there's a game that I have my eye on, or something that I'm excited about releasing and I want to play. So carving out the time for that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I find myself going a lot back to kind of just the games I know, Fortnite, because you could just kind of turn your brain off.
It's it's an interesting moment because a lot of people, because of just the amount of content and things you're getting swarmed with at all times, whether it be games or shows or whatnot, a lot of us go back to that, wherever we feel comfortable. I think that's the reason people love Steam, because it still feels like it's from 20 years ago. There's like something comfortable about that. And some of the games you used to play, or just know, like, you don't, at the end of the day, like, our days are so full of so many different things happening, for, as a business owner, like fundraising and, managing a team, trying to come up with all the strategy. I just don't want to learn something like new. So I go back to a game that I'm used to. It's something I already know the parameters around. I know I can just dive in, I can zone out. But as far as playing titles, I love games. I could play games all the time. I think what people don't think about with some of the games, like, oh, it must be cool to like see all these new games all the time, reviewing them, like evaluating them. Well, yeah, no, because they're all broken. They're all, you have to like look through a lens of what they could be months, years from now, compared to where they are now, which is oftentimes really rough or broken, or there's many issues. And so all of those are like, you have to play them in a very different way. You have to put on your potential hat. You have to be able to evaluate the studio and what the vision is, and be able to say, oh yeah, this thing is going to eventually be it, even though I can barely get through a level right now. And so that can be, it can take away some of the fun of it, but still, I'm a guy that loves to look at the potential of what something can become. And so that's the part that I'm always excited about with creators, because if I can like envision what they're envisioning, like, that gets me really excited.
I have this question. I don't know how it comes off, right? But when you're playing this game, are you looking more for kind of that core loop of what you're having fun with, the potential and how that could be monetized? Is it a fair mix of both? Is it like it's a slippery slope, right? I mean, these what I like about the AA revival that we're seeing right now is that there's no in-game purchases, right? So you're basically spending $30 on the game itself, and we're seeing that have a comeback now, right? And maybe it has people rethinking, hey, what is our live ops strategy? Are we going to continue this down the line? Can we make enough from this one-time purchase? And I'm curious, when you're playing a game, like, how do you juggle that? You want to start at either one,
Where
Alex?
where to start with that? I mean, you never want to focus too much on the monetization piece, but at the same point, you can't not think about it being a piece of the overall pie, because if you want to build a successful title that can, grow into something larger, which is, I think, the goal of a lot of these things. Like, if your goal isn't to build an audience and make money, okay, like, there's absolutely, you can do that, but just know that you're probably not going to work with a publisher, because the publisher is thinking about that. But there's, I think, a good way to think about it, and there's a kind of toxic way to think about it. If you're only ever thinking about the monetization, well, maybe like free to play mobile is your world, like, because that's all they do. In a lot of ways, is think about it. Now they still have to get a core game loop and all of that kind of stuff, but I do see a shift towards, now that devices, even mobile devices, can be played with like premium type of games, larger experiences, things like that, yeah, there's a lot more of just like one purchase and that's it. And so then if that's really the strategy, you have to make sure that you're at the right price point. Does it evaluate against the rest of the comps around it and still not look like it's overpriced? Like you want people to think, "Oh, what a deal compared to what I'm getting." In some ways. So you have to be thinking about it because the market will evaluate it whether they realize it or not. But at the same point, if you're only thinking about the monetization, you're ignoring the audience that you're trying to go after, and the audience is what's most important, and what they are okay with paying, and what they are okay with like just looking at what the title is. Like you have to think about what the audience is gonna perceive the title as based on the price and the quality and what you're offering with it.
I strategically let you go first on that one. Uh, that's a really interesting question, and it's very difficult. Look, this is a business. No matter how you look at it, you got to look at it as a business, because otherwise, what are we doing? What are we in this for? We're in this particular kind of area of business because we love games, but the idea is that we find a way and we determine a way. I mean, a lot of the reason that a developer wants to work with a publisher, let's say, is to help them to make money for their games, so they can make money, so that they can build or sustain their studio, and so that they can make more games. um, the unfortunate thing is there's an audience of gamers that are kind of have this uh, predetermined or preset sort of uh, view on what a game should cost and what it should deliver in terms, gameplay, amount of gameplay. And it doesn't seem to be moving. Like that needle seems stuck. Like games are, indie titles seem to be stuck at X amount, this little range between, I don't know, $12 and $20 or $12 and $25 for I don't know how many years, the last
Mm-hmm.
decade plus. Um, Not even adjusting for inflation, and not even taking into consideration, you go out to you go out to a movie for 2 hours and you buy popcorn and sodas. I'm constantly saying this. You can't walk out of there for less than, like, 50, $60. It's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. But God forbid you have a game that's, an indie title that's priced more, higher than $20, and you're not delivering like tens of hours of gameplay and very, it's a little crazy. But then again, like a live ops game or a game with in-app purchases, all of a sudden someone will spend, you know, 50, 60, 70, 100, $120 on,
Mm-hmm.
cosmetic upgrades and, buffs, etc., and they won't even think twice about that. So I'm a big fan of supporting a game that has, here's what it is. It's a one-time purchase, and it's going to provide you with a really solid amount of entertainment. And the developer has poured their heart and soul into it, whether they've been developing it for 3 years or 10 years. And, give them kudos for that. It's worth your 20 or $25. It doesn't have to be 15 or $10. It's worth $30. It's worth, or more than that, for the enjoyment that it's going to give you, and for the replayability that it's going to give you, and for the effort that the developer put in. So that's my take on that. I'm not a big, I think live ops and the whole, in-game purchasing is a whole other beast that's a lot more difficult to navigate, and there's maybe a whole other science to that. So
Yeah.
I would tend to shy away from that myself personally.
I love
Yeah.
that. I always tell my wife, and she actually got into the habit now of like, she's been playing the same game for years. I'm just like, pay, like, it's a few bucks a month, right? Like, you're supporting these people that are building these levels, right? Like, think of all the hours of entertainment. You said it perfectly, right? Like, a movie and a date is going to cost you $50. You've been playing this game for 20 hours now and you haven't put a penny in. It's like, cool, but you're going to watch ads and don't complain. And like, again, it's the time value of money, right? People have to realize that you're spending so much time doing this. And I think I'm going to change the topic here a little bit, but maybe it's just me. But I feel like in the past few months, the tide in gaming is starting to turn. We're seeing kind of the success of double A's. We're seeing some more indies come out. I think there's still obviously some problems in the industry, but I feel like there's light at the end of the tunnel, and I think there's some cool topics that are kind of front and center for studios right now. And I'm curious how excited or exciting these are to you guys when you see games that have these tools in them, right? So, for example, the first one we hear a lot about these days is UGC. It helps build community, it helps build engagement, it helps build monetization strategies, right? Are you interested in technologies like this? And when you see a game that comes up in front of you that has a plan for that, does it create a little like spark of excitement for you?
I think that I definitely think that that can be a very cool. We're actually dealing with this and kind of with one of our titles right now. I think depending on what type of game it is, UGC can be extremely valuable, and it can help to build and foster a community and an interaction and create longevity for a game. That said, I think it unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever, it requires a little bit of oversight and policing, so things don't go haywire. Depending on what type of content it is that is able to be created. Um, I think it's a really important part of gaming to have. This is such an interactive art or activity that it's so important to make the community and the players feel a part of the game and integrate their creativity versus just having them play, if that makes sense. That said, I don't think it's absolutely necessary. I just think it's like an added component. It's an added perk. And I think that a game can be great with or without.
So kind of in a way, don't force a technology or something into a game when it doesn't fit properly, right? Just because it's the new sexy thing on the street doesn't mean
Yeah,
it's the right thing for you.
yeah. Don't yeah. No square pegs and round holes.
Well, and we also have to remember it's not like it's new. Now people have turned it into a way like Fortnite, like Roblox, into a way to engage your users, to be creators, and to essentially make you more money. But this was happening 15, 20, 25 years ago as well. So it's not new. It's just it's become a way to create a walled garden for people, and people are retaining users at higher rates than they ever have in the history of games, which is why older games have lasted longer than ever before. uh, but at the same point, it's not for everybody, and it also you have to realize what it's doing to our overall ecosystem, because it's preventing people from going and buying new games. So as much as like Fortnite thrives, it's directly attributed also to the other side of things, of people not buying new games and not going out, and also having an expectation that I can get free experiences from these titles. I don't have to pay anything, so it devalues our value as game developers as well. So there's a real negative to it if not, thought about right. And also, they brag about the amount of money going into UGC platforms and saying, "Oh, well, we paid out this much money to creators." But they don't but if you do the calculation per creator that has put out something, people are barely making anything off of those except for the platform, except for the game. And so we just have to remember what it is used for. It is used to engage users more in an individual experience. But then as an industry, too much of that I think actually is harming our entire industry. And I think it could become a real problem if Fortnite were to able to retain all their users for the next 20 years. because of everything like that, the rest of the industry is going to look very different than it looked in the past.
These forever games, how do new experiences come? And that also had me thinking, when you look at the top 10 games out right now, is there going to be a point where one of those top 10 games is an in-game experience on one of these platforms? Because you already have so many eyeballs on that platform. Can it ever do that? All right, let's jump to the second thing I see being top of mind a lot these days is discoverability. People are talking about Steam. It's getting hard to be discovered on Steam. Steam is throwing a lot new kind of Next Fest, Summer Games Fest, all these other things that are on there. So they're having all these Steam sales. From what I'm seeing more games come out on platforms like itch.io. I think it's reminding me of my high school days. We used to like do the web games in there, and it seems like they're coming back. And I'm curious if these web games excite you guys at all, if it's things you're paying attention to, and are you seeing kind of, or how are you helping some of your studios with discoverability?
So web games create accessibility to games. It is a low barrier of entry towards these titles, and so as the idea of the democratization of platforms, being able to play any game anywhere on any device, web fits really well into that. You can basically take your web game, even put it on Discord now. So the ability to just easily access games is going to continually increase the amount of gamers worldwide, which there's already close to 3.8 billion. And a lot of the limitation on why it's not 8 billion is just the accessibility to be able to play games easily from anywhere in the world. And so I see it as an accessibility piece that will open it up, but how does that work with the monetization piece? I think we're in kind of an early stage, probably more similar to when mobile was first coming online as a viable gaming download location. I see it needs to be figured out. Is it going to be part of like larger services? Are we going to see folks like Netflix go on and attach into the web game space in larger ways, or are we going to see, uh, are we going to see, others just try to figure out how they can put their game on really any platform imaginable? And so it's an exciting point because anybody can game, but how are we going to adjust to the limitations that are on web in comparison? And does it match what the market is looking for? Does the TikTok generation want those kinds of gaming experiences? If so, they're going to take off in a huge way because you're going to be able to access them anywhere. So I think it's an exciting time because we have a lot of new ways people can play. We're not stuck on a console or on anything like that. And if you can imagine it, you can probably figure out a way to play it on something that you wouldn't normally think you could play games on.
Have you played any WebGL games recently?
I'm an advisor on a group that put out a game on Discord called, well, it's just Blackjack, and they got over 1 million MAU on that game on Discord. So yeah, so that one, but not a lot of others. Like a lot of the games we review and support are PC focused first,
Mm-hmm.
but I am seeing more of that kind of come up, and I think traditional publishers don't look at that as much because they're smaller, more focused experiences, but it's actually huge opportunities. I think we're going to see some new publishers or new entities explode by focusing in on that a bit and that being their specialty. So it's that part's exciting, but the traditional folks, it's really hard to take your the ways that they evaluate things and evaluate risk and then put it towards kind of this new wave of and new types of games.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you even just mentioned the Netflix model. I mean, and they're in gaming, but it makes perfect sense, right? Like you already could go to